Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is complaining that it's cold. They're reaching for a jacket, turning up the thermostat, wrapping both hands around a warm cup of coffee just to feel something. But here's what's strange. Your ancestors, the ones who built every gene you carry, survived winters that would kill you in hours. No jackets, no heaters, no insulated walls, just skin and bone and a brain that refused to quit. And they didn't just endure it. They walked straight into it, generation after generation, and came out the other side. How? To understand, you need to go back, way back. About 2 million years ago, your earliest human ancestors lived in East Africa. The climate was warm. The savanna stretched wide. Life was hard, but it wasn't frozen. Your body was designed for that world. Upright, lean, mostly hairless, built to sweat and cool down under a blazing tropical sun. That's the animal you are, a tropical primate. You still are one today. Every cell in your body was originally engineered for heat, not cold. So what happened? The Earth tilted. Literally, small wobbles in the planet's orbit, called Milankovitch cycles, changed how sunlight hit the surface. Over hundreds of thousands of years, massive ice sheets crept south from the Arctic. Temperatures across Europe and northern Asia collapsed. Forests disappeared. Grasslands hardened into tundra. Snow fell and didn't melt for months. And your ancestors, against every logical instinct, walked directly into it. Why would a tropical primate march into a frozen wasteland? The answer is deceptively simple. Food. As Africa's climate dried and shifted, animal herds migrated north. Early humans followed. They didn't plan for winter. They stumbled into it. And then they had one choice: solve it or die. The first solution was the most primal one: fire. But not fire the way you picture it. Not a cozy campfire with marshmallows and guitar strings. For your ancestors, fire was the single most important technology ever invented. It was a furnace, a weapon, a kitchen, a pharmacy, a social anchor. And in the cold, it was the thin, bright line between life and death. Archaeological evidence from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa suggests controlled fire use stretching back at least 1 million years. But it was in the frozen northern latitudes, tens of thousands of years later, where fire stopped being useful and became absolutely non-negotiable. Picture a night on the open steppe 40,000 years ago. The sun drops below the horizon. Within minutes, the temperature plunges below freezing. Wind tears across the flat ground with nothing to stop it. Without fire, your core body temperature starts falling almost immediately. Hypothermia creeps in within the hour. Your muscles lock. Your thinking blurs. Your heart slows. You die, curled up on frozen ground. But with fire, everything shifts. A single well-fed flame raises the air temperature around your body by 10 to 15 degrees. It dries your skin. It thaws frozen meat and cooks it, unlocking dense calories your starving body needs. It creates a ring of light that keeps nocturnal predators, wolves, hyenas, cave lions, lurking in the shadows instead of lunging at your throat. Fire didn't just warm your ancestors. It bought them enough time to invent the next solution: shelter. Not buildings, not houses. The earliest cold weather shelters were nature's leftovers: caves, rock overhangs, shallow pits in hillsides that blocked the wind. But your ancestors didn't stop there. They started building. At a site called Moldova in modern-day Ukraine, archaeologists uncovered something extraordinary: a ring of mammoth bones, massive femurs and tusks, carefully arranged in a rough circle, draped with animal hides and sealed with packed earth. It looked primitive. It was brilliant. Inside that structure, with a fire crackling at the center, the temperature could run 30 or 40 degrees warmer than the lethal cold outside. That's the gap between death and survival. And your ancestors engineered it with nothing but their hands and the skeletons of the largest animals on the continent. Does that sound desperate? It was. But desperation is where invention lives. Fire and shelter keep you alive when you're still. But what about when you move? When you hunt? When you walk for miles between camps tracking game across a frozen landscape? Here's where your lineage did something no other cold-adapted animal has ever done. Instead of growing thick fur like a bear, instead of packing on blubber like a walrus, your ancestors found a shortcut. They stole warmth from other animals. Clothing sounds simple. It wasn't. The earliest garments were raw animal hides, scraped and dried and draped over the body. But even that crude technology demanded an enormous cognitive leap. Think about the chain of steps. You have to kill a large animal. You have to skin it carefully without tearing the hide. You have to scrape the fat and tissue from the inside. You have to dry and treat the skin so it doesn't rot within days. And then you have to figure out how to wrap or tie it around your body in a way that actually actually traps heat against your skin. Every single step requires planning, tool use, and knowledge that had to be taught, learned, and passed down through generations. That's not instinct, that's culture. How do scientists know when clothing first appeared? You can't dig up a 100,000-year-old animal skin. It's long gone. But in 2011, a geneticist named David Reed at the University of Florida found an ingenious workaround. He studied lice, specifically the genetic split between head lice, which live on your scalp, and body lice, which live only in clothing. By analyzing the DNA divergence between these two species, Reed's team estimated that body lice evolved roughly 170,000 years ago. That means humans were wearing clothing at least 170,000 years ago, long before the last great ice age peaked, long before the first cave paintings were made. Your ancestors were already manufacturing their own insulation. They were engineering survival before they were painting art, but the body itself adapted too. Not overnight. Over tens of thousands of years, slow genetic shifts reshaped populations living in cold climates. They became stockier, shorter limbs, wider torsos, broader noses with narrower nasal passages to warm incoming air before it hit the lungs. This follows a principle biologists call Allen's rule, which states that animals in colder environments tend to evolve compact, rounder body proportions because a sphere loses heat more slowly than a cylinder. Your Neanderthal cousins were the ultimate demonstration. They lived in Ice Age Europe for over 300,000 years and evolved into something remarkable. Barrel-chested, thick-boned, short-armed. Their bodies were biological furnaces, burning calories at a ferocious rate just to maintain core temperature. They were built for the cold in ways your tropical frame can only approximate. And there's something else hiding inside your body right now, something most people don't even know they have. Brown adipose tissue, brown fat. Most of the fat you carry is white fat, which stores energy for later. Brown fat does the opposite. It burns energy on purpose for one specific reason: to generate heat. Newborn babies are loaded with it because they can't shiver effectively. For decades, scientists assumed adults had almost none. Then, in 2009, a landmark set of studies published in the New England Journal of Medicine proved them wrong. Healthy adults do carry pockets of active brown fat clustered around the neck, collarbone, and upper spine, and it switches on in cold environments. Your body still carries a heater engineered by the Ice Age. You just never activate it because you live in a world of thermostats and heated car seats. But the most powerful survival tool wasn't biological. It wasn't fire. It wasn't fur. It wasn't fat. It was each other. Winter is a team sport. A lone human in an Ice Age blizzard is a dead human, period. But a group of 15 or 20 huddled in a bone and hide shelter, taking turns feeding the fire through the night, hunting in coordinated packs, sharing meat so that the weakest members don't collapse. That group makes it. Anthropologists use terms like cooperative breeding and reciprocal altruism. The plain version is shorter. Your ancestors survived the cold because they refused to let each other freeze. Consider what that means for you. The fact that you exist right now, hearing these words, is proof. Proof that an unbroken chain of humans stretching back hundreds of thousands of years survived every winter, every blizzard, every frozen, starving night when the hunt failed and the fire was burning low. Somewhere in that chain, someone shared their last piece of dried meat. Someone stayed awake in the dark to keep the flames alive. Someone wrapped a shivering child in a hide they needed for themselves. And the chain held. It held for 1,000 centuries. It held all the way to you. Here's the part that changes everything. The cold didn't just test your ancestors, it made them. The cognitive demands of surviving winter, planning ahead, reading the sky for storms, storing food, crafting layered clothing, maintaining alliances and social bonds through long, dark months, all of it pushed the human brain harder than any tropical savanna ever did. Rick Potts, a paleoanthropologist at the Smithsonian Institution, argues that it wasn't one climate that shaped human intelligence, but the constant swings between extremes, warm to cold, wet to dry, that forced your ancestors into becoming the most flexible, most adaptable animal the planet has ever produced. The cold didn't nearly destroy humanity, it built it. But here's the twist you didn't see coming. You've spent the last 10,000 years quietly dismantling everything the cold forged into you. Since the dawn of agriculture, humans have been insulating themselves from discomfort with increasing precision. Walls, roofs, fireplaces, furnaces, central heating, climate control. You now live in a permanent artificial summer, hovering around 72 degrees year-round. Your brown fat sits idle. Your cold tolerance has cratered. Studies show that people regularly exposed to cold, winter swimmers in northern Europe, indigenous Siberians, outdoor laborers, maintain significant significantly more active brown fat and far greater resilience to dropping temperatures than people sealed inside heated buildings. The hardware is still inside you. You've just stopped running the software. And maybe that tells you more about being human than anything else. You are the direct descendant of people who walked barefoot onto a frozen continent, armed with nothing but a sharpened stone and a burning stick. People who stared into an endless white winter and answered it not with words, but with fire and bone, and the stubborn, beautiful refusal to die. They wrapped themselves in the skins of animals they killed with their bare hands. They built shelters from the skeletons of mammoths. They pressed together in the dark, shared warmth, shared food, and dared the ice to take them. And now, here you are, their heir, standing in a heated room, reaching for a jacket, quietly complaining that it's a little cold.